J Lopez, man, what's going on?
What's going down, Rick?
Hey, we want to talk about some of your origins, man. When you first started in rap, how long you would say you've been rapping now?
I mean, honestly, like, seriously rapping, like writing down, pen and a pad, probably since like 2013. But I really started rapping, like freestyling, just like everybody else from the city, probably like in 6th grade, man. So like the late 90s, early 2000s.
When would be like the first time you were actually in a studio, like you got in and started recording?
The first time, it was just like a little makeshift booth, you know, just like almost everybody has it, right there in the closet. I had came back from California. Well, I guess you could say the first time in Texas, because when I was in California, I lived in California from 2008 to like 2010, and I actually went to like a pretty hyped up, high invested, high dollar studio in Pomona, California. And I went out there with one of my partners from Cali, and I did like a little 7-track, nobody's ever heard unreleased type mixtape with Buddy. So yeah, that's probably like the first official time I was in the studio.
And then eventually you made your way to Texas.
Yeah, and then I came back to Texas, and then it was like in a little makeshift, you know, closet with my boy Shad. I grew up with Shad. I've known him for a while. And you know, my cousin, he got a laptop, he had a mic, a mixer, everything. Shad came with Cool Edit, and you know, we just started rumbling from right there, doing little tracks and whatnot. So yeah, that was about 2010, 2011, around that time frame.
When was like your first, I guess you could say, studio album? When did that come out?
Okay, my first studio album was the Better Days album, and that came out in 2015. Yeah, I had like maybe like 6 or 7 mixtapes, but there were 9 originals, and I was parking lot, you know, pimping out the, you know, pop trunk. Hey, you know what's up? $2, $3 for a CD, you know, show love, get my CD. The first official CD, mixtape wise, I dropped was called Who We Be GAC, and I had a couple of, you know, cats on that with me.
Really? You talk about some of the cameos you had?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was just mainly the local cats I grew up with, man. My boy X-Ray, he's from Manchester. Then I had a couple of cats from the Valley, man, the Rio Grande Valley. Salute to the 956. I had my partner Bliss, my boy Atomic on there, and Buddy from the 956 too, IGL. And we just decided to do that because when I came back to Texas, I actually started a little team called GAC. So I got the concept from like SUC and SPC. So it was Soldiers United for Cash for SUC and the South Park Coalition. So I did GAC, Gangsta Ass Coalition, for the SPC, and then AKA Getting All the Cash for Soldiers United for Cash. So I did that, and then when I went to the Valley, I linked up with them, and I was like, that you know, let's make some music.
You bring up a great point. SPC, SUC, these are the foundations of hip-hop in Houston, is where it all started.
Definitely.
Talk about their influence, man, on your career.
Yeah, so I mean, I honestly, you know, just coming up in Houston, because a lot of people have the state of mind that you're from Texas, so it's a Texas thing, but it's a little different inside, you know, the 610 loop. You have so many great influences to choose from. You know, the first time I ever heard k-rino rap, I was like, nah, this dude can't be from Texas. I mean, the way he raps, his ability to use entendres, double entendres. I mean, just his whole dynamic and wordplay. I mean, they call him the wizard for a reason. So, I mean, hearing him, you know, I was like, man, I think I could do a little something like that. And then, you know, you get, you know, SUC, where of course you're gonna hear the quintessential Fat Pat, Lil Kiki, I done came down, and then of course you got the Al D in there. And you know, the Botany Boys, Will Lean and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, so many different types of iconic artists that you can graph yourself around and then still shape your own self. I mean, it's limitless really to choose from in the city. But yeah, I mean, realistically, k-rino plays, even to this day, a big part of how I dictate how I actually write, how I construct the music, how I want to deliver, how I want to put a point of emphasis on a certain punchline. So I mean, overall, I guess you could say between him and not SUC related, but you know, Ghetto Boys, between him and Face, trying to, you know, dialect with my story to making sure people aren't just bored with what I'm saying.
And so far to date, you've put out 3 albums?
Yeah, 3 albums.
And the first one you said you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I did that. That was like, honestly, it was a transition from me realizing that my group or my team, my squad, GAC, was like, I guess, like completely eradicated, like it no longer existed. It was just me by myself. So when I released that project, it's on the original CD, it says presented by J Lopez, because I just did everything by myself. And then I was transitioning to, you know, Music Corruption, you know, the label that I'm with now. And then we dropped the Lethal album, which on that I actually have a verse on a track from K-Rino. The song itself is called Lethal, and I even have Lucky Luciano on there. I have Lil Kiki on there. I mean, it's a pretty awesomely well put together album. And then my most recent is 2020, a playoff of a little bit of, you know, the whole 2020 year, and just overall with how Music Corruption is integrating what the new sound is doing with the sound that I'm from.
And somewhere along the way, if I'm not mistaken, you got the moniker of Clutch City Captain.
Yeah, so
talk about how you got that name.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was in the Rio Grande Valley, which is far from Houston, but everybody who knew me over there would always call me, you know, H-Town, and I'd just be like, man, I'm just J Lopez. And I went to a show one time with a good friend of mine, T. Carroll. He was hosting the show, and I said something, and it was just a little freestyle, and I said something about Clutch City, and then after that, I guess he kind of emphasized Clutch City and Captain, and then that's just how it all, you know, came together. So I just started saying Clutch City Captain. And I mean, that's just realistically just off a little freestyle, something, blah, blah, how it happened, H-Town, back to back, Clutch City Captain. So, you know, that's how I'm paraphrasing, but that's just how the little freestyle session was. And then it just kind of stuck. But I mean, I just really go by J Lopez. But if you know me, people know, AKA the Clutch City Captain.
You mentioned earlier about 2020 was a hell of a year. Now it seems like it's not getting better in 2021.
Yeah.
But right now, as artists, it's a weird area to be in, and that as far as distribution, right? As far as,
yeah,
are you putting it on CD? Are you putting it on flash drive? Are you putting it on online platforms?
Yeah.
Talk about how your music is available and your protocol. Like, how do you approach that? Like, many people as you can? Or?
Yeah. So I mean, definitely. I mean. The difference between how I was growing up watching people, as I said earlier, when I was doing my mixtapes, Parking Lot Pimping, you know, you used to see people really pushing, hustling, coming up to you like, bro, you know, this is my album, this is my mixtape, rah, 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 woo, 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 whatever. Now it's a little bit easier to reach, you know, a whole entire demographic other people didn't even have the option or even know they could reach because of digital distribution through streaming services. So I mean, I try to keep it original, and I still press up my CDs, you know, and it's always a limited copy. So if you get one, I mean, just know you're one of the only out of that batch. But I mean, we try to hit all streaming platforms, you know, as far as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We're available to reach any and everybody. Some people don't want to, you know, pay for music, which is cool. Run my numbers up on YouTube, you know, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I mean, it's always gonna be under Music Corruption, J Lopez. You look it up that way, and I mean, anytime I reach out to you, I always have a link. You actually saw it earlier, so when you go to any of my music, it'll actually have a link, and it'll populate almost every platform that it has. And of course, if you want a hard copy, all you got to do is hit my line, and I got you on that.
music videos, I think you have one or two, or three or four. Talk about those.
Yeah, nah, music videos. I have a lot of old ones, you know, just floating around. But I mean, recently, like from my Lethal album, I have Pain. I have Make It Out featuring my boy Maxo. Shout out to my boy Maxo, longtime friend. Just so happens to be a label mate of mine also. Known that dude since we were like 7 years old, man. And it's crazy on the track itself. I say it's been a long time coming, this collab with Maxo. I've been knowing him, like I said, since I was about 7 years old. He's probably been rapping since he's about 10. And in that entire time we've known each other, we had never made a track together. So it was a must that when I dropped my album, I had to make sure we were gonna do that and shoot a video. So I got Make It Out, Pain, Certified Kills, Lyrical Ammunition, and Looking for the Best, I believe. Those are, oh, and Jumping, I apologize, Jumping as well. So 6 out of the 13 joints from the Lethal album are all available to view on YouTube. And then my most recent is What's the Deal featuring Shorty Guwap, who's another label mate of mine on Music Corruption. And then also the 2020, which plays off the album itself. So yeah, I got maybe about 9 or 10 out there right now.
You have certain producers you work with, or do you produce yet? Or
well, I mean, specifically, I've gotten asked that a lot. I'm not even gonna lie to anybody, man. I salute anybody who does engineering, who does production, because your boy doesn't have the patience for that. I might could get in there and do one track, and not even track, just, you know, go over the hook, and after that I'm already mad, because you hear something and you feel like you could do something with it, and maybe I should re-record it. But I mean, specifically, you know, as far as production, my boy George, MC George, who's the, you know, backbone of Music Corruption, he does a lot of in-house production. And then we do a lot of stuff with A-Red and Jay Moya. So anytime you hear one of, you know, J Lopez tracks or any of the Music Corruption tracks, that's who's making that crisp sound. So if you want your stuff to sound right, not saying you ain't doing it right, but if you want it to sound the way it should, you need to holler at A-Red, Jay Moya, or MC George. That's the sound right there.
And let's talk about, might have to be ending this, I don't know if I'm running out of time here, let's see. Just future projects, where are you headed, man?
Yeah, future projects, right now.
Plotted.
Yeah, right now, they're TBD as far as the names of the projects, but I'm doing a collab album where every song I drop on that CD, or, you know, available for music streaming, will have a feature. And I'm doing a solo project where I got my playbook off of my boy Hoffa, who's another label mate of mine, and J. Cole, where I'm like, I don't really need no features. So I'm gonna give you the best of both worlds, a CD where it's just straight me, and then a CD with features. And so far I got features from OTM CeeLos, Big Pokey, ILD of course, and Hoffa. And I think that's it as far as the features that I'm able to say right now. The other ones are still in the works. But yeah, I'm like halfway done on that project and halfway done on the solo project. It's just about knowing the time frame of when to release them.
Man, that's great, man. It's been an honor that you came in and sat down with us and did this interview. Any parting words, anything? Want to get people up on websites?
I mean, realistically, you know, just look me up on all social media. It's J Lopez MCENT on TikTok, on Instagram, J Lopez 713 on Facebook and Snapchat. So I mean, realistically, the only thing I want to tell people is y'all have to start listening to music again. And when I say listening to music again, hear what somebody says. If you're understanding the concept behind a song easily, it's not really constructed the way it should. Music is supposed to make you think a little bit outside the box, especially rap. It's not supposed to be something that's a given. You're supposed to want to understand what he said or what she said and understand how they thought to actually say it the way that they did. So just keep listening to music, listen to all future Music Corruption endeavors, And that's pretty much it. Just holler at the Clutch City Captain if you need that fire feature. I will kill a 16, and it is legal.
You talked about your Houston inspirations, Houston roots, k-rino, SBC, SUC. But how about just your inspiration overall in hip hop and right hood? Your first inspirations in the music?
Yeah, and it's crazy. Inspiration wise, a lot of people, you know, everywhere I've ever traveled, you know, Texas included, living here, being from here, people think, oh yeah, you know, DJ Screw or this and that. Yeah, those came a little later, man. But realistically, my first inspirations were a group of like childhood friends who I heard rapping, and they got me to want to. And that's basically one of my label mates, Hoffa. He used to rap with a couple of our friends, man, Javi, Shad, who I mentioned earlier, and then, you know, they were a little bit older, and then I had a couple of cats around my age, Victor Rodriguez, I believe that's his last name, Juan Ortega, and I heard all of them rapping, and I'm like, damn, you know, I feel like I can do that too. So I mean, they really like kind of pushed me, you know, that sink or swim, you know, jump over the cliff, take that leap of faith. And then that's when I started playing into everything else, just the dynamics inside the city itself. And I realized, you know, if it wouldn't have been for them, that was like a pivotal moment for me in the overall rap game. If it wasn't for, you know, this group of childhood friends, hearing them do that, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today.
Man, that's awesome, man. Let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about still your inspirations, but you talked about k-rino earlier.
Yeah.
And I know that you mentioned that one of your most inspirational songs by him is The Game Goes On with him and Zero.
Yeah.
And that's a big time release on the, I believe, the Legend album, DJ Screw.
Yeah.
Talk about a little about that and influence and how
Yeah, well, I mean,
that song influenced you.
I just think it was first off the back and forth, and you know, between him, you know, like every like 4 bars and then 6 bars. But just when I first heard the intro, you know, he was like, man, I'm so hungry, my stomach, I feel like my stomach's touching my back. You know, I mean, that's like one of the biggest things growing up, like in the inner city. It don't matter if you're from the east side or, you know, the north side of the inner city of Houston, or being from the south side or the southeast side, like a lot of us are right now. But, you know, just hearing that off the rip, and then getting older, still being able to, you know, implement how he jumps on, you know, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, trying to pay the rent. You hear that and you like, damn, you really don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I'm saying? And then Zero comes on, he's like, well, I've been going through some things, K. And then, you know, that's just you talking to your homeboy, and, you know, just overall mixing that together and just hearing how it comes out too. And I mean, there's a bar in there where he's says something about met this chick fine as hell, but I'm too broke to trick. And I mean, just hearing that, like, I'm just saying, like, if you've never heard that song, y'all really gotta go jam it, man. The Game Goes On. I mean, just after really hearing that, like I said, all of this is almost simultaneously happening with the influences of my friends, then just picking up, because I mean, people really don't get it. Like, if people ask me today, what music did you grow up listening to, man? My daddy was an oldies man in country, so I grew up listening to Al Green and the Temptations and Smokey Robinson, and in country, you know, Johnny Cash and stuff like that. So I really didn't have, you know, I guess the childhood up until middle school, like the majority of us, but I grew up listening to that. So when I heard my friends, then I started hearing everything, then The Game Goes On, I was like, man, poof, epiphany right there.
Let's talk about the process behind when you are in the lab, you're in the studio. Like what would you say hypothetically the most songs you've written in a day, or you recorded in a day? Like, how prolific you are.
Well, yeah, one time, man, I could tell you the most songs I've ever written in a 24-hour period is probably like full, including full and verses, you know, like features, I probably did like 13. Like it was probably like 4 full tracks, and then the rest were features, like 16 on somebody's or 12 on somebody's. But I mean, I was just in the mode, man. When I'm talking about I was in that zone, I heard a beat, and the producer I was working with at the time, he was some cat from the Valley, and he said something about Texas thing. This probably like 2012, 2013. So on my first album that I dropped, The Better Days, it's track 1, it's called Texas Thing. He played it, and I just heard the boom, 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 like just how it dropped, and I did that song literally, and that's a hook, verse, and a bridge, and I wrote that literally like in 35 minutes, and then started writing other stuff, and you know, other projects he wanted me to do with his brother, or other features I had with a couple of other partners from around the way. And the recording process, I probably did maybe like 7, but it's because every engineer I've ever worked with, they're like real tedious. So once they do something, they want to start messing with it right then and there. I probably could have recorded more if he would have just let me lay it down rough, but I recorded probably like 6 or 7, and then wrote like 13 in total.
That is fascinating. Right here to the tail end of this interview, I wanted to get a little bit, I know this could be very elaborate, but the time we spent on tour down in McAllen, I think it was Corpus, Dallas, 4 or 5 different spots. I think Grimm was headlining. I want you to talk about that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of your first experience doing different events, moving around, getting exposure in front of, you know, crowds. Talk about that experience, what you're learning.
Well, I mean, that's a great thing to, you know, bring up. It realistically was my first overall experience, you could say, in a tour facet environment. I mean, we would go from one city to the next, you know, blah blah blah, and you know, it'd just be a whole transition. You got to learn that specific crowd, who they're there, because when you're going and you're doing, you know, tours like that, you get a lot of artists from that area too. So not only do you know that the headliner, who everybody came to see, is there, and it's like I guess like a different type of adrenaline rush to know that you're gonna perform alongside, you know, somebody with the stature of Grimm, and then the local artists that are there as well. And then when we came back and we finished it off, like we went to the Valley, we did McAllen, then we were in Dallas, and then we did the Corpus, and when we came back, I think we finished off with like a Zona Latina event. And I mean, we had K-Rino, we had Point Blank. I'm talking about, it was legend after legend in the house, and it's just so crazy that you're getting to mix up with these people that you listen to, and then you actually get to interact. And I mean, overall, the environment was always great. And the biggest thing I could tell you is, whoever you choose to go out there on the tour with, make sure that they're good at driving. I had the pleasure to have, you know, DJ Rec driving, so he don't have a real light foot, man, so, but he's smooth with it. And also, you know, whoever you're gonna ride with, make sure they don't got a small bladder, because it's a horrible thing having to stop after stop, man. You want to get to where you're going and relax, but I mean, the tour itself, going to places in Texas, and just the overall aspect of mixing with different, you know, upcoming artists or artists in the same level as you, and even greater artists. Because I think when we were in Corpus, I think Flatline came by, or you know, a couple of the Corpus people came by to talk, you know, run it up, chop it up with a Grimm and stuff like that. And then, I mean, you never know who's gonna show up or what you're gonna do. So when you're in that type of environment, you got to take advantage of it, man, because it's nothing like being able to go out and do something you like to do and do it in front of different people in consecutive nights.
Well, that's great and awesome. Behind you on the thing is your CD.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that, and shout out to the people all involved in this project.
Yeah. So I mean, this is my latest project, you know, 2020.
Here, stick it up to the camera. Let the camera take a look at that. Come on,
that's the behind the scenes. That's the behind the scenes over here.
Let me zoom in on that.
Boom.
Let me see.
But yeah, man, 713 Graphics designed this, and you know, that's the inside. I mean,
hold up just a little bit. Yeah. Over to your right. Over your left. Oh, perfect. Man, that looks sharp, man.
Yeah.
713 Graphics?
Yeah, 713 Graphics. Jay Moya did the mixing on here, and I mean, like I said, this is all thanks to and in conjunction with Music Corruption, man. So everything that I'm doing is through my label Music Corruption, and it starts off from the head. That's George, man, MC George, man. Shout out to him. Everybody in this group, with the exception of one member, I've known for at least 10 plus years. I grew up with George. I've known him for a long time. Grew up with Maxo. Shout out to Maxo. He's another fellow roster member, along with Hoffa, Mike Allen, and then Shorty Guwap. Shorty Guwap's like the youngest member, and I met him along the way because he knew George. But I mean, we're the integral parts of Music Corruption, and everything you see us doing together, I mean, it's the definition of a group of artists coming together in unison. So many different points and aspects of what we have in the rap game into now. We got Mike Allen, who's like a fast type rapper, real deliberate with his punchlines. Shorty Guwap, he's a younger cat, man. He's got a long, like, his longevity is gonna, you know, stretch beyond the limits because he's so young, man. 21 years old. I mean, the notice he's already getting is incredible. So I mean, he brings that new aspect, plus he has that Spanish dynamic in his rap. And then we got Hoffa, who, I mean, everybody from the Southeast area, especially the Pecan Park and Grando area, they know about Hoffa, man. So I mean, I'm lucky to have a team like that. And then I got my boy Max, like I said. I mean, his style and his ability to adapt to what he does, I mean, it has no bounds, man. He'll do a song with Hoffa and they'll talk about some, you know, some Zero type Scarface, and then jump on and have a new wave type vibe with Guwap, and you're like, man, this dude has so much in his arsenal. And then myself, I mean, I'm just dropping project after project. So I mean, realistically, if it wasn't for MCENT Music Corruption, I mean, who knows what J Lopez would be doing right now in the rap game. But I mean, shout out to my squad, shout out to Rec, you know what I'm saying, DJ Rec, coming through, letting me give you a little bit of insight on the mind and the everyday life of your boy.
Put us up on some heat, man. Most artists consider those songs like their children, so it's hard to pick one over the other. But what would be some of the signature songs on this album?
All right, so this one, I could just tell you the first track. We'll start off the first track. It's called "Make Rap Great Again," right? So, I obviously, you know, I took the play off of Trump 2020, right? To make rap great again, and it jumped in there. But basically, this song is straight bars, which is another thing I took from k-rino. K-rino likes to open up a lot of his albums with basically an elongated version of an intro. So my Lethal album, I dropped Certified Kills, and people were telling me they wanted another track like that. So it's realistically 3 minutes of non-stop rap, and I mean, it jumps off, I mean, it goes, street life is hazardous, turn cats cadaverous, dark night of the game, resurrecting the pit of Lazarus. So I mean, I'm just throwing punchlines in there, and I mean, I say break bread with the squad. I'm no Jesus or Nazareth. You thought that was blasphemous? Yeah, a bit rapturous, but fuck how you feel. There's just a touch of my savageness. And I mean, those are just the opening bars. I jump in and I say other stuff too. I mean, I'm not too sure if the audience out here is familiar with The Walking Dead, but I give a reference as to Lucille, which is the Bat of Negan, and I see Swing Lucille, the tracks like Glenn, see how that's brutal, so I crack the track so hard in the head that it busts open. So I'm saying, like, the metaphors in there, and I mean, I just have so much in there. I even jump in, I say 823 like the late great Kobe. You know, R.I.P. Kobe Bryant. I say that in there, and a lot of people were like, "Why'd you say 2-3? Kobe was number 8 and number 24." Well, if people don't know, now you're gonna know. Kobe Bryant's birthday is August 23rd, 1978. Your boy's birthday is August 23rd. So I said 823 like the late great Kobe. So August 23rd, mix it in there. You know it was destined to be fire. And there's so many different punchlines in there. I even give a shout out to my boy Frank, you know, R.I.P. Frank C. I mean, it's just so much in there. I'm just telling y'all, when y'all got an opportunity, just go listen to the album. And I feel like a lot of people, like I said earlier, stop really listening to music. That's why if you hear this whole project here, I went ahead and diversified with the beats so that I can make sure I grasp your attention. Because from the beats to the production to the wordplay, there's no reason why you shouldn't want to pick this bad boy up and do your ear some justice and put your mind in a state of euphoria. Because I'm telling you, once you listen to this type of bliss, you'll never have an experience like it. You'll be chasing that high over and over again. And you'll never catch it unless you listen to another J Lopez track. Then the magic happens again and again over for you.
And you heard it here first, man. It's time to get locked and loaded on your playlist.
Man, I'm telling you.
Once again, that new project's name
is 2020, baby.
All right, you want to bust some shots? You leaving the parking lot? Now's the time, J Lopez.
I mean, let me just tell y'all this. I'm have a project coming up that I told you I got a feature on with Al D. And a lot of people don't know, man, me and Al D were from the same neighborhood, right? Smith Edition. It's a little section in the southeast in between Magnolia, Manchester, and Pecan Park. It's right across the street from Milby.
Was it 83rd?
Yeah, I'm telling you, the 83rd, and I got that project coming out, and that's basically what it's called, the 83rd. And I mean, when you hear it, I would give you a little sneak peek, but then I might have to charge you every, you know, and then you're gonna have to send Cash App to Rick right here. But I'm telling y'all just be on the lookout for that. That's about all the little buckshots you're gonna get from your boy.
Awesome, man. So we're out, man. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Yep.